Eddie Rudiger here at Baird & Warner, and we wanted to talk today about rent-to-owns. So there's a lot of talk with the market going up, inventory being very limited. Some people are looking at rent-to-owns on the buy side, maybe even on the sell side. I will come out right up front. I'm usually against a rent-to-own deal. The reason why is I'm always concerned. The contracts usually, from ones I have seen, are very leaning towards the owner of the property. They're not always a fair agreement between a buyer and a seller. And you want a fair agreement. You want something that's going to be a fair, agreement between a buyer and a seller. One wants to get rid of the property. One wants to buy the property. It should be a win-win situation. So with that going said, let's look at some of the biggest things that you should look for. If you are going to do a rent-to-own, it is a good thing on the positive side because you are getting the property locked in on a price today. You should be. That's the number one reason why you look at a rent-to-own, is you are locking in the price today for a purchase down the road within 2 to 5 years is a very common time frame. So the next thing you want to look at is, okay, keep in mind, you're not going to be able to probably lock a loan in until for that 2 to 5 years. So once you're qualified to get a normal loan, that's when you want to exercise and turn around and move forward and actually purchase the property, okay? But you're still looking at 2 to 5 years down the road. Here's the concerns. A, you don't know what the loan rates are going to be 2 to 5 years down the road. B, and this is the bigger concern I see, is you have all of these upfront fees. There's a down payment sometimes. Usually I've seen inflated rents, so watch for that. Now they'll say you're going to get a portion of the rent rebated to you as a down payment, which is great, but you got to make sure your lender allows those things. Sometimes the amount that you're getting may not be allowed, so you have to double check and make sure that you can get that amount in a down payment. The other downside is if you get into the property and it's not what you thought it was going to be. Either it's high maintenance, there's maybe property issues you weren't aware of. Not to say that the owner didn't know, they may not have known, but it didn't work. Maybe the location wasn't what you thought it was. Maybe the neighborhood, the school districts, whatever that might be, it's not working for you. You can't sell a lot of times. You can break the rent-to-own contract, but that down payment 9 times out of 10 is non-refundable, and you're losing that money. With that in mind, going back to getting the loan, a lot of times it's a bad debt. There's a collection out there that may be holding you back from getting a loan. So it's like, okay, well, let's do a rent-to-own, and once that's paid off, well, make sure you don't put yourself in a position where the down payment that you had to put down and the increased rent is so much where you can never pay that debt down. I had one landlord tell me, oh, I do rent-to-owns all the time. He goes, they never can buy them, and then I get to keep the money and I go on to the next one. That was word for word of what he told me. I'm sorry, I find that being very dishonest and not working in good faith. I had a problem with that. I never did business with that individual. But keep that in mind. When you're looking at rent-to-owns, these are things that you want to consider. Yes, some of these things are issues if you bought the house. Hey, I bought the house. I can't sell it. Well, you probably could sell it if you didn't like the area or if there was something going on with it. So those are things that you can keep in mind. Yes, you may take a loss, but it may not be as large of a loss as what you would take if the property was owned by you versus doing the rent-to-own contract. You're better off, I think, renting on the buyer side. The landlord side, don't see a lot of advantages of this unless it's a specific person, a family member that you wanted to sell to and you wanted to keep the property within the family and they were trying to clean some stuff up, because you look at the aspect of, okay, you're going to sell your property for today's price, but it's not going to actually sell for 2 or 3 years. You also run the risk of the property getting damaged and coming back to you, not executed closing, you own it with a damaged property, and the money that you did bring in does not offset those damages. So I'm not a fan of rent to owns. That's just my view and my thought. If you got questions though, and if there's something specific you're looking for, give me a call at Baird & Warner, 815-823-5478. Again, 815-823-5478.